Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Russell Hildebrandt from Grace Lutheran Church in Arlington. Appreciate you coming out this morning. After our prayer, please remain standing for our pledges.
We pray this day. Heavenly Father, we pray for the Honorable Judge Whitley this morning, the Honorable Roy Brooks, the Honorable Andy Wynn, the Honorable Gary Fickus, and the Honorable J.D. Johnson. When we talk about honor this day, Heavenly Father, it talks about integrity, it talks about love, it talks about being a civil servant, it talks about being a servant to the Most High God. We thank you for the gift of life this day. We pray for these men this day that they will make honorable decisions that glorify you and help the community. Bless us all this day in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Manius?
Madam Court, we do not have any agenda announcements this morning.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of September the 20th and our special call meeting of September the 20th.
Move approval of both.
Second to both.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a couple of proclamations and a resolution. Commissioner Fickus.
Yes, I have a resolution to Patrick Finney, and we'll be presenting it on Thursday. So I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Johnson, you have a proclamation.
Yes, if you would read that into the record, please.
Sure. National 4-H Week. Whereas the Tarrant County Commissioners Court is proud to honor the 4-H Youth Development Program of the Texas AgriLife Extension Service for providing more than 100 years of experience-based education to youth throughout the Lone Star State. And whereas this program seeks to provide a learning experience for the whole child, including head, heart, hands, and health, helps young Texans to acquire knowledge, develop life skills, and form attitudes to enable them to become self-directed, productive, and contributing members of our society. And whereas Tarrant County 4-H serves over 650 youth with long-term, year-round programming through community clubs and an additional 15,000 who participate in short-term activities and events. And whereas the program undoubtedly could not achieve this community outreach were it not for the hundreds of volunteers who generously give of their time, talents, energies, and resources. And whereas throughout its history, the 4-H program has developed positive role models for countless youth, and through its innovative and inspiring programs, continues to build character and to instill the values that make our communities strong and great. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tarrant County Commissioners Court hereby proclaims October 2nd through 8th, 2011, as National 4-H Week in Tarrant County. In witness whereof, we've heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 27th day of September 2011.
I'll move for its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our county extension agent, Cindy Brad, is here to, she's going to present a brief video, and Mrs. Megan Maynard will be present, I think, to accept the proclamation. So if I could meet both of you at the podium, I'll present this, and then we'll move forward with the video. We have a delegation of good. Oh, that's wonderful. How are you, lady? Happy to see you. Hi, how are you? Gentlemen, good. It worked? All right. All right, and any comment that y'all would like to make, please feel free to do so, and we're very proud of what you do for our county. All right, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Megan.
To make the best better, I pledge my head to clear thinking, my heart to good old loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living for the club, my community, my country, and my world. I didn't know exactly what 4-H was, but this motto is what drew me to 4-H. I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but I jumped right in, and I have been absolutely loving it ever since. Hello, my name is Megan Maynard, and I am with Lake Country 4-H. I have been a member of 4-H for 5 years, and I am currently presiding as president for the Tarrant County level. I am very devoted to spreading the word to people about 4-H, what it is, how it is useful to them in their lifetime, and why they should join. I am very blessed and very grateful for the fact that my parents encouraged me to join to be a member of this great nationwide club. It is my pleasure to represent all 4-H members and say thank you for your continued support of our organization. I would like to close with a quote. 4-H is a youth development organization that helps young people develop skills they will use for the rest of their lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. Is there maybe supposed to be volume with this?
Something we're controlling from the back.
Pardon?
You should be controlling that from the back.
Hold your fort.
Wait just a minute.
Just 1 second. We'll see what happens. We get a do-over here. Maybe. But then again, maybe not.
Maybe not. Well, I'm glad to see that the new 4-H is more than just raising livestock. It teaches kids about the world, especially science. You've got a robotics curriculum that a bunch of kids that I sponsor use to learn robotics and science and math. And those 400 kids are very grateful to 4-H for that curriculum and for spending the time with them to teach them new skills and new ways of thinking and learning. So I applaud 4-H for all you do. And Generation Hope laptop program is the program about which I speak.
Well, I just want to add, this is not something new. They have branched out. They have been branching out since I was a little boy. So it's not just about livestock. It's about life in general. Always has been.
And we want to thank you all very, very much for being here today and for your words. Thank you very much for your help, and thank you for being here.
Maybe we can get this video, the sound fixed on it, and watch it at our next meeting. All right. Thank you
all.
very much.
Commissioner Johnson, I believe you also have a proclamation on All-American City Celebration Day.
Yes, I do, and that's for ratification only. I would move for its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. At this time, I'm going to take us a little out of order, and I'm going to call on Tim McKinney from the United Way to come and to give us a briefing on the United Way and their campaign this year. He had an opportunity to be with us this morning for a breakfast that we had with some of our department heads and elected officials to kind of kick off and to begin to explain the campaign. Again, as I mentioned this morning, Tim and I have worked together for many years with many different hats on, community hats, professional hats, and it's a pleasure to welcome you here this morning and give you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about United Way.
Thank you, Judge. And good morning again, and good morning to each of the commissioners. It'll be a very brief briefing, but I do want you to know that we have kicked off a $22 million campaign. We did it virtually online last Friday. A year ago at this time, I came and told you a little bit about the new direction of United Way, where we're concentrating in education, financial stability, and in health. We're working to improve the on-time graduation rate in education in selected high schools in the county by 20% by the year 2020. Over the next 3 years, we're working to improve the financial stability of 16,000 low-income working families. And in the area of health, we're looking to to keep about 11,000 people living independently that have either one of two chronic diseases, mid-stage Alzheimer's and people with diabetes. The critical, important thing in each of these areas, we've employed independent third-party evaluators, and they have just completed their first annual report. The UTA School of Social Work is the evaluator in our areas of education and financial stability, and UNT Health Science Center is the evaluator for our health issue. And there are, in total, about 20 strategies in all three of these areas. The independent evaluators have given us 7 A's, 9 B's, 3 C's, and 1 incomplete because of a lack of data in that particular strategies. To say we're 100% pleased in our work over the last year, we're not. We need to make improvements, and I think we're on the right track now in each one of those areas, and we'll see significant improvements in the current fiscal year. But more than anything else, I'm here just to say thank you for your support. Thank you for your previous support, and we really do appreciate your support in our current campaign. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Now, I'll also mention at the same time that we've had a little smackdown from our former tax assessor collector, now city mayor, about how, the city is going to kind of embarrass the county on their giving. And so I'm going to be calling on, we had a little meeting this morning with with some of our elected officials, some of our department heads, but hopefully as a court, maybe we may see if we can enlist county clerk, tax assessor collector, district clerk, sheriff, and the DA, and just as a beginning point to kind of see if we can't take that challenge from the city and show them what volunteerism and what it's all about. So we'll kind of get together and put our heads together and see if we can't come up with a little challenge that we send back to the city council and to our mayor. And
I would certainly challenge them to match all of the volunteer hours that our county employees donate to projects across this county. Yeah, we'll beat them on United Way contributions, but let's put everything on the bill.
Well, we will put it all out there to them, but let's focus on the United Way dollars here as we get started, and then we'll continue to embarrass them as we go forward.
Tell Betsy to bring it on.
So You can pass that challenge along, just say that you were here and that you don't want to get in the middle of it, but that the gauntlet, we're willing to accept it and go forward with it. Thank you. Mr. Manius. Now, we have before we do that, let's go to the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I did just very recently handed a audience participation form on one item that's on consent.
Okay.
So we're going to request that you approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 9L16.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 9L16. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have several public hearings today, beginning with the community development area. Tricia.
Good morning. We're requesting the Commissioners Court conduct a public hearing to consider two amendments to the program year 2011 for the consolidated plan. The first amendment reallocates $41,140 to in-house transitional housing program from the Meals on Wheels contract. And the second amendment is a budget adjustment for a public works project in Richland Hills that reallocates 2010 to 2011 funding for that project. There's no action that's needed today. We will come back and submit to HUD based on public input.
I'll open the public hearing at this time and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this particular matter. There being none, then I'll close the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, County Clerk. Good morning.
A couple of items for consideration. I am asking a request of a public hearing in consideration of the County Clerk's Preservation and Restoration Plan for fiscal year 2012. And then following the public hearing, I'm asking for the Court's approval of the plan as submitted.
Okay. At this time, I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. There appearing to be none, then I will close the public hearing and ask for the Court's any questions that you may have or action.
I move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. District Clerk. Good morning. How are you?
Good. We are here before you today requesting a public hearing to approve the District Clerk Records Reservation Plan for 2012. And after holding the public hearing, we request that you approve the plan.
Thank you. At this time, I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. Appearing to be none, then I will close the public hearing and ask for the Court's action.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, if we could go to item number 1 under the Administrator section. We're requesting that the Court establish a daily rate of pay for petted and grand jury service at $6 for the first day of service and $6 more than the amount reimbursed by the State of Texas beginning with the second day of service, effective September 28, 2011. I'd just make a few comments. You might know, and we discussed it in court, that that prior to this last legislative session, we had been reimbursing our jurors $6 for the first day and then $40 for days after that. That amount, minus the $6 on the day after, it was always reimbursed by the State of Texas. The state has now limited the amount that they are going to reimburse us for juror pay, and have changed the law so that we don't have to reimburse jurors $40 a day on that second and continuous days. So what we've discussed this with the judges, and what we're recommending is, and let me say this first, that the comptroller is going to certify a daily amount that she'll reimburse on a quarterly basis, and that will begin September 28th. That amount is $28. And so what we're recommending...
So that amount may change from quarter to quarter?
Yes, sir, it will. Possibly, yes. And that's something that we don't have any input into. It's simply what the comptroller does. Yes.
And it's a number that they have created a fee, I believe.
There's always been a $4 fee that has been used to collect that, but they took some of the money to pay other bills, I guess.
Of course.
So what we're recommending is that we continue to pay the first $6, and then for days after the first day, we continue our $6 contribution per day, and that the rate of pay that we give our pettit and grand jury is that $6 plus whatever the daily rate is established by the state on a quarterly basis. And you'll notice that that the start date is September 28th, and if you approve this order, we need to have that as a start date.
And we have
That's
consent
gonna be
from all
in
the judges?
The judges are aware of it. And in fact, they have discussed, and I believe they've actually passed an order that is identical to this.
So if someone is in a jury midweek, they're going to get an increase in pay or a decrease they're going to get a decrease in pay this time.
That's
Because they're going to
correct.
go from 40 today to 20 or 34 tomorrow.
And in the future, it's possible that they could get an increase in the middle of a trial.
That's true.
Unfortunately, our jury system is set up so it can ad hoc be changed, so it won't require programming changes other than what we do ourselves easily.
We believe that this is the best solution available to us at this time.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, on item number 2, we're requesting that the Court approve an MOU in conjunction with Tarrant County and the cities of Fort Worth, Arlington, Bedford, Hurst, and North Richland Hills pursuant to the 2011 BJA Justice Assistance Grant.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, on item number 3, we're requesting that the Court consider and approve an exception to the county's travel policy as it relates to Precinct 3 Constable. This will allow the Chief Deputy to go to a conference which will be held in Dallas.
It's in Rockwall, I believe, isn't it?
I believe this one is in Dallas and the next one is in Rockwall, sir. We have 2 items.
Oh, okay. Move
Staff.
approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Finally, members of the Court, on item number 4, we're requesting approval or consideration and approval of the exception to the travel policy as it relates to Justice of the Peace Precinct 6. This will allow Judge Ritchie to attend a JP school which will be held in Rockwall, Texas. Staff is recommending approval.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Tidwell.
This morning, I have to ask the court to receive and file the Tarrant County financial statements, and I would like to point out there's a typographical error on page 14 for the Techstar investment pool. It shows that we're earning 0.90% interest. I'm sorry, we're only earning 0.09. The typo.
Well, I was just
I
unbelievable.
know. I just didn't want that to not be noted as just an error. It's just a
On what page
typo.
that was?
Page 14. It just lists the rates of interest. Otherwise,
Move to
there's
receive and
nothing
file.
else.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file with the noted change. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Snyder.
We have before you today what we call the special purpose budgets. Overall, there's 68 of these. They're presented separately from the operating fund budgets, mainly because they have dedicated purposes and fees associated with them. Some are fees, some are contractual. The others include our enterprise funds, being the Resource Connection, internal service funds, being all of our insurance, self-insurance funds, and The balance of them are trust funds, which are by and large contractual. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we're recommending their approval.
I will move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Refresh my memory. What did we end up? I know we have not, as a court, discussed or made any policy with regards to the allocation of interest.
Correct, and we did get some preliminary information from the district attorney's office yesterday, and we're continuing to work on that.
Okay.
Probably in the next couple of weeks, maybe a month, we'll come back with some information. What we got, we want to talk with the affected departments, let them know where we are,
Okay.
and then we'll come back.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or discussion?
And I appreciate their quick, within a week, look at some of this. We said there's 68 of them. And, of course, we use the method of this presentation, which is a little bit different, so we can provide some descriptive information you have. That hopefully that helped them. They made some corrections for me to put down in the future.
Thanks. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And also, we made note of here that there'll be a future discussion regarding capital, in particular the non-debt capital fund.
District Attorney, Ray, you going to do this before, after? Okay. Ms. Glenn.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have two items for the court this morning. The first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve, receive and file the personnel agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second and final item, we're asking the court to approve an organizational change for the district attorney's office. The district attorney is seeking approval to create a project position, which, as the court recalls, is a temporary position. They are asking approval to create this job or position effective October 1st to assume duties of an employee who's going to be on a tour of duty. We're estimating that the net fiscal impact will be approximately $3,600 to the general fund. However, the DA's office is confident that they will be able to cover, offset that impact with net salary savings.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I guess the only question, why would there be a $3,600? Is it that the individual who's going, we're expecting that we're going to have to pay the individual who's going on active duty?
The individual who is going on active duty will not be paid a salary per se. However, there is a 3-week period of time that our policy permits for training. And so that individual has not received that 3-week allocation this year, and so that's the $3,600. It's 3 weeks worth of military leave that we provide to employees once a year who are called to service, and this individual has not used that this year.
Okay, so they're
Do
fixing to
we pay
use it.
that for the whole time they're gone?
No, sir, it's just 3 weeks, and then once the employee leaves, well, after the 3 weeks, of course, the employee's gone. After the 3 weeks, then employees may actually qualify for what we call supplemental pay, but the supplemental pay is only applicable when their county salary is less than their military pay. So we pay that difference, we call that supplemental pay, for a period of up to 18 months, but not everybody qualifies for that.
So I want to go back to the 3 weeks for a second. Is the 3 weeks in addition to vacation and paid time off and everything
That's
else?
correct. And that's an allocation that's been a part of our policy for a very long time. And again, that is paid to every employee who's called to active service.
No, okay.
And-
I guess that's where I'm getting confused.
Okay.
I knew that we said that if somebody got called to active service, that we would pay the difference between what they were making here if they were making less
Correct.
on military service. I'm not sure I realized that.
In addition to that.
In addition to that, if they were called, we gave them 3 weeks.
And that existed actually before the supplemental pay. So that's been a part of our policy since I
But they're
began
getting
here.
paid when they're on. You're saying that we're paying them in addition to the pay they're getting from the military during that 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks, that's correct.
Okay, I'm not sure I ever was aware of that and
Yeah.
quite understand that.
Well, that existed again before the military supplemental pay was approved by court, and that's, the supplemental pay was approved several years ago. But prior to that, employees received 3 weeks' worth of
And what was the logic
pay.
behind that?
The 3 weeks?
Yeah.
I think, and again, it's been in place for a long time, Judge, but my recollection is that those individuals who are called to service, who are either
they're not
reserves
actually called to service.
well,
They're-
I think it's for those.
It's the
I think it
reservist
was
time. They have to have 2 weeks of training, 2 or 3 weeks of training.
correct. It's for the. It was. I
But
think
they're
it was.
being paid.
I think it was initially intended to address that service training time. But again, that's been in place for many, many years. And so when the court approved the supplemental pay, again, the difference between their base pay.
I understand the
Okay.
supplemental. That's
That
not-
was on top, that's on top of that, that's correct. And that's been in place for many years.
Okay. I'm going to have to understand that one a little bit more, but not, this isn't the time for that. Any other questions with regards to this? Do we have a second? Okay, second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Come on forward.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're requesting approval of Amendment Number 5 in the revised fiscal year 2012 financial plan with the Texas Conference of Urban Counties for the Integrated Justice Tech Share Program.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
JCMS still holding up, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Great. Come on down, Mr. Beecham. How was your weekend?
We had an equal weekend.
Called Roll Tide?
I like all the red, but I wore cowboy blue today.
You didn't wear the colors for the #1 team in the country?
Not this week.
Come on, come on, come on. Go Tigers, go Tigers.
It's another proud member of the SEC.
We'll try to make
We're going
y'all,
to see how proud you are in about 2 years.
We're always proud.
we'll try to make this a SEC caliber ball game set. The only thing I can say in our defense is I think Chaz Bono probably could have played a better game in our defense.
So someone will come out of this Losers Bowl this weekend as a winner?
How many registered?
Moving right along.
Now, that was cold.
Tuesday sure do come around in a hurry.
Well, what will happen is, that's right, that's exactly right, and I will end up being the brunt of this sometime over probably the next 4 weeks, because there's a pretty tough schedule ahead, and
We now
there's
have
always
three-
Thanksgiving in there, Jack.
Yes, sir. Somebody will be a turkey.
That's right. And y'all seem to shine on that particular day, and the Tigers seem to sometimes go a little dull.
We do have now 3 items for your consideration. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-128. This is an annual contract for the printing and mailing of our voter registration cards and pre-printed forms for elections administration. A recommendation to award a per unit price basis, selecting as our primary vendor Accurate Forms and Supplies, as our secondary vendor Dataflex Business Products.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 2 item is another bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-134. This is an annual contract for truck and bus repairs. Recommendation will be toward a per unit price basis, awarding to the 3 primary vendors as shown in your specification, in your court communique, meeting all our specifications.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
If we can now go to item number 16, which is a request for quotation number 2011-538 for the development of a campaign to promote a mother-friendly workplace for Public Health Department. We're seeking contract approval from the court, the amount of $7,895. Just to give you a little bit of history on this one, in your court communique, 156 vendors were contacted initially through our TVORS, our Tarrant Vendor Online Registration System. Because of that initial contact, 15 vendors requested that specifications be electronically transmitted to them, which we did. A pre-proposal conference was conducted on August 11, 2011, and attended by 4 firms. We did receive 4 quotations on this informal quotation. Because the dollar amount advertisement is not necessary, we're bringing this for consideration to Commissioners Court because we're seeking a contract approval. That evaluation committee consisted of Ann Sayer-Caldwell and Shannon Wingo from the Public Health Department. The proposed costing was 30%, as requested by Commissioner Court. We required information concerning past experience and qualifications, asked for a project sample, project approach and a manager, and references. With that in mind, we are seeking contract approval from the court.
What is a project sample?
Previous work that they've done, previous samples of projects they've completed for other customers.
We have an audience participation form for this particular item, and so at this time I'll call Dora Tovar up to speak to this. Good morning. Please go ahead and state your name and your address for the record.
Absolutely, I have it. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dora Tovar, and I reside in Arlington, and I have a business in Arlington, and I bid on this particular project. And I'd like to ask the court a couple of things. But first, I'm tell you a little bit about myself so you get a little frame of reference. I had the pleasure, first I want to congratulate the court on acting regionally. From what I've heard this morning of really collaborating and sharing with the city of Arlington, traveling to the city of Dallas, to really act as a region I think is critical. To give you a little history on my background, I have a master's in public affairs from the LBJ School of Government at UT, and I also have an undergraduate degree in political science and local government from the University of California, Los Angeles. So I have spent my 30-plus career working with public sector entities on a number of areas. One is diversity and demographics. I had the pleasure of having as my mentor a demographer who actually is responsible for the term Hispanic and the collection of data by race and ethnicity in 1972. So I'm luckily, and to the demise sometimes of my clients where I like to do PowerPoint presentations with charts and demographics, I moved here from New York after 9/11 to set up my own independent firm, after working with a number of national firms. So I had the pleasure of acting on a regional contract and was most recently hired by the host committee for the Super Bowl 45 to be the Hispanic agency of record and really break ground in terms of the NFL communication and any NFL sports team in communicating globally with diverse audiences. In addition to that, I have the pleasure of really understanding Tarrant County and the culture here in Tarrant County by having been the agency of record for the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. So I feel like I've really had the opportunity to embody everything that it represents this county. And I wanted to communicate with the court about some emerging issues with regards to both MWBE firms, diversity hiring, public sector contracting, and RFQs. Most recently, I presented testimony with the city of Fort Worth and their brand new MWBE requirements from a committee that has worked for 18 months to examine their process. One emerging issue is really attaching some kind of a point system with regards to RFQs and public sector contracts. There has been in place a rich history of over 30 years of utilizing minority and disadvantaged business firms to perform public sector work. It makes good economic sense. It teaches public sectors about interacting with diverse audiences and how to do that more effectively by the process of engaging in these contracts. Secondly, it teaches firms like myself, and I happen to be a disadvantaged business, meaning that my firm earns less than $200,000 a year. I am the prototype, if you will, of what is diversity hiring. I had the privilege of competing for this contract. I understand that even with my 20-plus experience, and I have some that ranges from Toyota, Pfizer, nationally rolling out their first Hispanic programs to really the Fort Worth Stock Show, the Cowgirl Museum, and the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. So I really feel like I've got a wide breadth of experience, and I want to ask the court to revisit the manner in which you conduct public sector contracts, especially those in which you do not require an MWBE, which every municipality that I've ever done business with has a model. I have worked closely, and I'm glad to see that Ron Wright's here, because I've worked closely with the Arlington Hispanic Chamber. I'm a member of the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber on really addressing these issues in a formal manner. And I know that it works. Different cities are having different models. I think now all of the cities in the North Texas area are really moving to developing a regional approach, especially one in that the city of Fort Worth is now inviting Dallas firms to do business in Fort Worth. So there are a number of real shifts and policy movements that I urge the court to examine. There's research on disparity studies that the North Texas COG has invested hundreds of dollars in examining. The city of Arlington just finished a study to that extent. And I urge the court to compile that research, work with your attorneys, and look at what are the new models, what can the court be doing to really encourage it. The fact that I understand that I came near last on your process doesn't speak to experience. It doesn't speak to providing firms a continuous opportunity to take a win like my firm experienced having worked with the Super Bowl, and then to have that negated by the court as somehow irrelevant or not sufficiently experienced or not providing expert. I can't imagine. But I will be an advocate, and I want to work with you to help you close the gap in those policies, learn without having to expend additional resources, just by collaborating with some of the municipalities, including your county seat, which is the city of Fort Worth, and really examining the fact that the city of Fort Worth has a model program nationally. I believe that the city of Fort Worth is really breaking ground in a regional area simply by inviting small businesses and minority business to compete from Dallas in their own process. So I think we're arriving at a new time. Clearly, I can't tell you that the fact that I am one of maybe a handful of Hispanic-owned firms and one that works on multicultural. I have a track record of working, you like this, Judge, with the state of Louisiana on a contract with the Department of Health and Human Services to develop an outreach program for Vietnamese and Hispanic residents. And I provided now almost 9 years ago a model program for the state of Louisiana. So if I'm sufficiently qualified to work with the state of Texas, the state of Louisiana, the state of New York, the state of California, I should be in a much better competitive position, especially given my local involvements, my local investments in this community. And so I welcome the opportunity to work together. I, again, ask the court to revisit that manner, collaborate, request the disparity studies and the models from all of the major municipalities, in addition to county governments who are doing the same thing and hiring consultants. The city of Arlington's model was almost directly built by a private sector firm. So if that expertise doesn't exist, maybe it's time to examine somebody coming in and build you a model that benefits from all the lessons learned from the regional area. And the third is really looking at trending inclusion, which is in addition to demographics, really examining what kind of a point system. The City of Fort Worth currently allocates 40% on some contracts, 40 to 35% to firms that have local experience, not just any experience, but local experience. And clearly I had that, so I really request respectfully that you examine and that you really make this an agenda item and engage your county employees, which I'm sure they're already in discussions, and certainly Mr. Wright has the opportunity to share what's taken place with the city of Arlington and the growth there. So that's my purpose here
Thank you very
this
much.
morning.
And I'm going to ask you to give your full address over to the clerks as you
Absolutely. Thank you.
Judge, as you know, this is a subject that is near and dear to my heart. I would like to see this county one day get to the point where our purchasing policy mirrors the population of Tarrant County, not by quota, not because somebody tells us to do it, but because it's the right thing to do, because there is value in extending opportunity to all sectors of our community. I have looked at this rating sheet that the committee came up with, and I too am baffled at the experience and qualifications category. I am familiar with at least one other of these firms which has tremendous experience locally doing projects of a public PR nature, and that firm in fact was the low bidder and was rated low on qualifications and experience. I just am baffled by that, and I just note parenthetically that the firm that was awarded this project was also awarded the very next project in the same the one that was not pulled off of the consent agenda. Same firm was awarded both. It might raise an eyebrow or two.
Shannon Wingo is here from the Health Department if you have questions for her. Or Lou.
Well, I'm not, I guess the comment that I would make is that it appears as though you have a schedule that you use and I'm assuming, and I guess what I would just ask is that as you look at each one of these bids and as you look at each one of these categories, that you are going back and looking at what norms may be as far as the percentage allocations, and then I have to trust the individuals who are on the evaluation team to do their job. I also understand that there may, I don't know what was in the stuff that was sent forward. But again, I have to, one, just ask that you stay up to speed and that you continuously look at and review the allocations and working with other folks. I know y'all have received many awards for your purchasing department. And so I just, I trust in the quality of the department and hope that y'all continue to look at that and to update that. And then I have to trust in the members of the folks who are on the evaluation committee to do their jobs. But, I think every once in a while just a subtle reminder that you really got to take this stuff very seriously regardless of what the dollar amount is something that we could do.
I believe it was President Reagan who admonished us to trust but verify. That's all we're trying to do, Judge.
I hear that, and I think we all agree with that.
I think we've taken the high road. My only comments would be, we do take it very seriously. Every RFP, every RFQ is taken dead level serious. We've taken the very high road with our formal sealed bids that require advertisement and even those that don't, to give everybody the opportunity. And I've said this before in court, the 156 people that we notified through our TVOR's online vendor registration system, we do that to give everybody the opportunity, because there is nothing that can be said by me or anybody else in this courtroom if one vendor comes in and say, I didn't have the opportunity. We go above and beyond to notify people. This was not a mandatory pre-bid. We did have a pre-bid conference so everybody would learn the same information. Everything is done subjectively. The costing is done, I think, at a reasonable level. But our biggest concern is because of the economy. That's not the only reason, but the small orders, in many cases, are keeping the lights on. Every department we work with, on purchase orders, on seal bids, on RFQs, RFPs, we make that fact known that these small orders, again, are potentially more volatile than the large orders. But we do appreciate your comments. We take our HUB program very seriously. I'm proud that an Arlington vendor and 4 HUB vendors responded to this particular informal quotation. And
Let me ask you a question.
that the court approved the contract as submitted as backup behind your court communique.
So move.
Second.
Andy, I believe you have a question. Go ahead.
Regarding this RFQ specifically, Jack, when you say experience and qualifications, are you referring to the specific experience that has to do with promoting mother-friendly workplace, or a generic type of?
I would defer to Shannon, please.
Good morning. My name is Shannon Wingo. I'm a lactation consultant with Public Health. Hi. And your question was, again, could you repeat your question?
When you say experience and qualifications, are you referring to firms that have experience and qualification in working to promote mother-friendly workplace? Specifically, that's what you're looking for, right?
We are looking for that, and that is not, nobody had that experience, but we're looking for public health experience.
I see.
Anybody had experience doing anything with public health. That's what it came down to.
Okay. But how do you come up with the percentage? Is experience and qualifications, to me, are pretty generic. How do you measure that? I mean, is there a tangible way to?
It's subjective. I was just looking at the 4 different vendors that were.
I see. Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson, I believe you have an interlocal agreement.
I have 2 interlocals, one with the city of Lake Worth, one with the Eagle Mountain Saginaw Independent School District. Item 901, A, B, C, and D. Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Appointments? Court members, you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move for approval of the claim and the addendum.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And we were asked that you affirm the claims and the addendum from our regular meeting of September 30th, 2011.
So move.
Second.
I said September 30th. It was September 20th.
Second anyway.
Please vote. Motion passes
anyway.
unanimously. Briefing items?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 2 additional items we'd like to talk with the court about this morning. Under briefing, the first one concerns the nominations of candidates for the Appraisal District Board of Directors. I included in your court material a communication as it discusses this particular issue. As you know, once every 2 years, the Commissioners Court, along with the other taxing jurisdictions within Tarrant County, make nominations to the appraisal district for the 5 candidates that sit on the board of directors. The time is with us once again. We need to have this to the TAD offices by October 14th. Since we're not having court next Tuesday, what I'd like to do is just simply tell you that we don't have to, but we can nominate up to 5 individuals for the board members. Last year, we nominated Jim Austin, Tommy Brown, Joe Potov, Michael Glaspie, and John Malinoff. And we've also included in your court communication those individuals that are currently sitting on the board. I'd be more than happy to discuss any of this with you. However, what I would ask that you do is that if you have a nominee that you would like to see this court consider, then if you would forward that name to my office, and then that way we can prepare the documents that we need to pass next, actually 2 weeks from today. More than happy to answer any questions, Your Honor.
I think what would help us a lot, or me especially, is if you would list out behind each one of these people that we have on the board where they reside, what part of the county they live in.
Be more than happy to do that, Commissioner. What we'll do, we'll get that information and disseminate it to all the board members.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments at this time? Thank you.
Your Honor, we can now go to members' court. We can go to item D. This concerns the 2006 County Capital Improvements Program. Mr. Phillips is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to update the Commissioners Court on several of the facilities management construction projects. First, the jail. The jail project is going great. The interior concrete block work is approximately 99% complete. The windows are being installed. The air conditioning has been started on several of the floors. The kitchen work is progressing nicely, and the sidewalks around the building will start being poured next month. Regarding the replacement of the fire alarm security systems for the Correction Center, floors 13, 12, 11 have been completed and approved by the Texas Commission on Jail Standards. The 10th floor has been completed, and the jail standards staff should be here this week to hopefully approve that as well. The construction manager and a few of the trade contractors have been working double shifts and weekends to stay on schedule in the Correction Center. The Sheriff's Department has had to move around inmates on short notice. I'd like to thank Bob Knowles, Alan Dennis, and Michael Gravitt with the Sheriff's Department to working with us and moving large numbers of inmates on short notice for us so we can get our work done. Moving on to the Medical Examiner's Expansion Project, we are moving into the new laboratory building as we speak. The move should last a couple of weeks, and we'll start some of the existing morgue renovation work next week. Mike Amador and his staff are doing a great job for us. And the medical examiner's office staff has worked well with us. On to the Civil Courts Building Project. The construction documents will be delivered to the City of Fort Worth for permit review this coming Friday. I expect the permit review process to take 60 to 90 days. We will bid this project in November. Now I would like to present to the Commissioners Court a few of the minor changes in the architectural design so we can make sure that we keep the project construction budget within the $56 million that we told the court we would do last May. The changes that I'm about to describe add up to about $1.8 million. The architect and the construction manager have agreed to these changes, and both of those folks are in this audience if you have specific questions of them.
Is this in the nature of value engineering?
Yes, sir. your handout, we've got a couple of recommended changes on the west elevation, or actually on the exterior of the building. On the first rendering is the proposed new west elevation and exterior of the building. There are two changes. Number one is we propose to change what we're calling the radius returns, which are on the sides of the granite on the ends, where we change that from a granite to a brick. You'll look on the second photo, second rendering. That's what the Commissioners Court approved on May 31st. You'll look on the first one. That's what we're recommending we do. That savings just on the going from granite to a brick is approximately $120,000. Second, we recommend that we take the eyebrows at the top of the building on the east, south, and north elevations, change them from a 4-foot wide eyebrow down to a 2-foot. And we'll leave the west elevation, which is the front, we'll leave it alone, but the other three would change, and the savings on that is approximately $68,000.
And is the purpose of that strictly to save money, aesthetically, shielding from the sun, none of that comes into play?
It does, Commissioner. It is not a significant value as far as saving any BTUs over the $68,000.
Well, but if it's only $68,000 we're saving, it's not going to, hopefully it's going to be there long enough that it might save.
Well, when we did the analysis, remember the grill?
Oh, I remember the grill.
We did the analysis on the grill, the payback on the grill, and it shaded quite a bit of that front, and the payback on that was about 75 to 100 years. So we're using a good enough glazing product to keep the radiant heat out of the building without shading. But this is, of course, an architectural feature, and it does provide some shading value. Also, on the third drawing that you have, if you'll train your eyes on, this is for the courtrooms, if you'll train your eyes to the ceiling. The third photo doesn't have the, what I'm calling the alien eye light fixture like it's on the last photo that you originally approved. If we delete the alien eye, we can save approximately $260,000. So I'm recommending we delete it.
And that's in how many courtrooms?
13.
And the light, the amount of light isn't altered?
Commissioner, we are going to add a couple of more can lights just to make sure.
And that's figured into that savings?
Yes, sir, it is.
So you're going to get the same candle
lumens, yes, sir.
Power by eliminating that thing and adding some more cans.
That's correct, just a few more cans.
I think it looks better without the alien eye, frankly.
Well, back when we all liked it, we didn't refer to it as the alien eye.
How times change.
I've got a few more reductions that you don't see in those drawings. Also, the courtroom pews, we recommend we change those from a curved back, which is originally we planned, to a straight back. And we have the straight backs in the Tim Curry building. We've had them for 20 years, and they're fine. If we go from a straight back, a curved back to a straight back, we can save approximately $161,000 in woodwork. Also, the lower granite block on the outside of the building, it just be a little bit less thick. You won't be able to notice it if I hadn't told you about it, but it's a little bit less thick. It'll go save about approximately $171,000, going from 3 5/8 thick to 2 inches thick.
Going from what?
3 5/8 thick, 5/8 thick to 2 inches thick, which is about half. Also, we recommend
That way, if it falls off, then it won't be quite as heavy as the.
Yes, sir, that's correct. We also recommend changing the walk pavers in front of the building. We had originally planned granite walk pavers, and they were going to be over $300,000. We recommend going with a standard brick walk paver that accents the building, and we can probably save somewhere around $250,000 by going with a brick walk paver.
A little brick versus how big were the granite?
2 by 2s.
I'm not as much in favor of those little bricks. Those little bricks.
We're afraid Wilder will get hurt again.
That's right.
I don't.
We have to replace a whole lot more bricks when he falls.
Yes, sir. I'm one of the first he calls.
David, I personally do not like reducing that canopy width
Okay?
at the top. I don't support that. I think it looks a whole lot better keeping it, but that's the way I look at it.
Let me do this, Commissioner. Let me ask architects to see if we can do that as a change in when we bid the project and see if it's significant at $68,000 or not, and come back to you at that time.
What is, I would,
58,000, just don't look at it, Gary.
Sir?
Just don't look at it.
and I am, again, the more of those bricks, the more they get out of line and uneven, and I think they do create an issue. Versus, I guess I'd like to see the patterns that you're proposing with the bricks versus with the granite and kind of what that's going to look like as we look at it.
Yes, sir. Lastly, we found out a couple of months ago that the mechanical system is going to be a budget challenge, and that's one of the reasons we're here talking to you today. The engineer and the design team has made significant inroads to reduce that budget challenge, and it looks like we'll be able to save about $750,000 on changes there up on the roof. And all that, again, is approximately $1.8 million. So the projects team our charge is to stay below the budget that the court approved back in May, and I'm asking for court approval to move forward with these changes, with exception to the granite pavers. We come back, or with the brick pavers, come back with a pattern.
Well, and I would say also with his...
Yes, sir, and the canopy.
And what again are we doing with the air conditioning that's going to save us $750?
They're making the box smaller. They're rearranging some of the components. What happened to us, Judge, back when we were designing the Family Law Center, we found the market allowed us a discount if we went with some prefabricated air conditioning units on the roof, the ones that we had to paint. Typically, we would have built a penthouse, a brick penthouse, and a structure with a roof around it, and put all that air conditioning equipment in that room up in the penthouse. On the Family Law Center, we bought a prefabricated unit, and we saved a couple of $1 million doing it. Now, so when we started design of this project, I instructed the project team to use the Family Law Center as a design basis, which included that prefabricated penthouse unit that sits on the roof, thinking that we would get that same discount. However, the construction market is not giving us that same discount on that equipment anymore, and so we're having to revisit some of the way we designed the building to get the building within $56 million. That's our issue.
Okay.
So what did you do differently?
Well, they have, Commissioner, the boilers are a component on the inside of these big boxes, big stainless steel boxes. They've moved some things around. We've met with the manufacturer of these particular ones we're using as a design spec. There are other manufacturers that can meet it, but they had found some solutions last week on this particular design, and we think we can pick up $750 just by reducing the size of the box, basically. There are some other things we could do to reduce some of the energy efficiency. I've asked them not to do that right now. We will be looking at doing some, when we bid this project, will be as a base project. However, we're going to have some options to reduce cost if we do have a budget bust, which we're going to be tight. It won't be like the jail or medical examiner's office where we had some float. I don't think we're going to have any float on this one. So we are preparing ourselves in this construction market to make sure we have some options for Commissioner's Court, decisions to make to get us within budget if we have a problem. So one of those things will be do some things with the air conditioning systems. We possibly do some things with the granite pavers and the eyebrows and things of that nature, and some other things that we're working on now. And I am asking for approval at least to move forward with the reductions as presented, with the exception of the eyebrows and the pavers.
Well, I frankly don't have any problem with any of your cost-saving proposals, but I will follow the will of the court.
It's not my area of expertise. So
I'd like to see us keep that on.
Yes, sir.
I'll move for approval with the exception of those two items.
And those two items we'll bring back. I'd like to see a little bit more, I'd like to just see a little bit more emphasis on the canopy, talk about that a little bit more. I'd like to just kind of have a chance to think about it. And then the pavers, I'd like to see some sort of what the design's going to be.
Okay. We'll have that for you next month.
So right now, we're approving everything else.
I'll second Commissioner Wynn's motion.
With the exception of those two items.
Yes, sir.
Please vote. The motion passes unanimously.
Lastly, the 1895 Courthouse Clock Tower Historically Sensitive Rehabilitation Project. The structural steel painting and the interior masonry repairs are wrapping up. They went fairly well. The granite mortar repairs are complete, which is on the outside. Also, the copper louvers have been restored and reinstalled. The windows have been rebuilt and installed. And I believe next week we'll start installing the stainless steel panels that will be the support structure for the new waterproofing membrane and the new copper that will go in the building. You'll see some stainless steel panels start going in that building next week. And that's all I have this morning.
What is your estimated completion date on that project?
Commissioner, it'll be April.
April.
I went up there Friday, and I will tell you, it is pretty amazing to see. Basically, they're taking the mortar out, probably an inch and a half, and then putting it back in with a lead type of sealant that is pretty malleable, I guess may be the word. They're painting everything up. It's really kind of coming along. It is amazing to see just the copper that is on the rest of the building and the effect of what hail has had on that. Just I believe the copper you're putting up in replacement is a little bit thicker.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Than that copper that has been on there previously. And again, the fact that copper, David just mentioned that they've got the structure, they're putting a stainless steel on, then they're putting a weatherproofing kind of membrane on there, and then on to that they're going to stick the copper. And where in the past it was the steel structure and the copper. So
when the steel corrodes.
And the mortar on the inside of the building was washing out from years and years of rain getting us. And that's been we had a structural challenge. And if the water can't get in there, it can't wash out again.
I've got some pictures that I'll put up maybe on the 11th after Mr. Duff downloads them and show you you can actually see some of the original pink mortar that was there, that it was covered up at one point in time, and then it's just where they've done some various and sundry improvements. But it's pretty intriguing to look at all that stuff.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. We're getting close to the end of our year. Again, we're going to be coming back here hopefully end of October, middle of November to look at not only our reserve positions, but our kind of where we are in the cash. And we have talked earlier about all of the capital projects that we might be looking for the next, I would say, 5 years.
I've got that.
Okay.
Got it.
And what I might suggest is if you've already got it, that you might circulate it and make sure that everybody agrees, or that there's not something in their own mind that they're thinking about that they might want to be on there, because I do believe that as we look at where we are from a cash basis, given the economy that we have right now, that if there is some stuff that we can look at, I think we're still opportunities out there for good bids. And that does two things. One, it gets us what we may need for the foreseeable future done, and it puts people to work. So I would really like for us, as we begin to look at our cash position, if we do our reserve, determine what our reserves need to be, and feel like that we have some funds available, that we can look at that. We can also look at our unfunded liabilities on our pension and some of those types of issues, and as we go forward. But hopefully that'll be a discussion that we'll be having mid-November, mid to late November.
I'll email that to you this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
That's all we have this time, Your Honor.
If there's nothing else, then at this time, we will recess our open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 080.
He is blowing us off, I want you to know. I saw him, heard him and saw him.
About to say something, but I didn't.
Having returned from our closed session, we'll now address the following matters.
Thank you, Your Honor. Under the district attorney's item, we're requesting authorization to protect the county's interest by bringing suit against IESI and, if necessary, James Russell.
Who is James Russell?
The employee. The contractor employee. James Russell's who is he?
He's the employee for IESI.
He's the employee for IESI.
That's that employee that...
Yeah. The one that moved the...
Yep.
Not that particular figure, but...
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Now, he is, when you say contractor employee, he is not an employee for IESI, but he was their contractor.
We're not certain what his status is.
But he doesn't work for us.
No, he doesn't work for us.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Wait, who doesn't work for us?
James Russell. James Russell was not the employee.
Oh,
Remember?
I thought it was.
I misspoke earlier.
IESI was the company who we have the contract with for, and they were having the pump replaced, and they had an employee contractor, one or the other, come out with the machine to put that in place, And James Russell was that individual.
Not a county employee.
Not a county employee.
No. He's not the guy that got his finger cut off.
That's Robert Walker.
The guy-
Robert Walker got his finger cut off, correct?
Correct.
James Russell works for.
He's the guy that moved the machine.
Yes,
cut
that
guy.
jerked the machine, right.
We're not sure. You're not sure whether he's an employee of IESI or a contractor for
I don't know
IESI.
what his status is. I just know that he was working at the direction of, if he's a direct employee or a contractor, he was working at the direction of IESI.
I don't know about the rest of this court, but right at this moment, I am thoroughly confused.
Okay, let me see if I
Mostly
can.
my fault.
Let me see if I can.
Was it a county employee who got his finger?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, so if I understand what happened, James Russell shows up with a 600-pound piece of equipment at the direction of IESI to install this piece of equipment. He gets out here and he asks 3 people from our sheriff's department to help in this process. The 4 of them collectively put this piece of equipment in approximately the right place, but then at the last minute, we believe that Mr. Russell moved the piece of equipment without alerting everybody else that that was fixing to happen, and as a result of that, one of our employees lost the end of his finger. And so what we're doing right now is giving you the authority on our behalf to bring suit against IESI, and if...
About Turner.
There's no Turner in this deal. Where's Turner?
What's his name?
Walker? We're just trying to recover Russell.
What about
Well,
Russell?
I'm fixing to get to him. IESI, and if Mr. Russell is not an employee of IESI, then Mr. Russell, in his contractor capacity, because he contracted with IESI. So both of them, and whatever we have to do to try to recover money for the expenses that we paid on Mr. Walker's behalf as a result of the accident.
Okay, then I've got a question. We don't know if James Russell was with a totally different company. Could have been the company that maintains or manufactures or distributes, sells, repairs pumps. Could be.
No, he's with IESI.
He's an employee.
I don't know if he's an employee or he was under their control, and that's why I think it's appropriate to name him as a party, as a defendant in the suit, to explore the relationship.
Was there anybody else on the scene from IESI?
No.
Okay, so I'm assuming then that county contacts IESI.
Correct.
And this guy shows up.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So they, either he's an employee or they directed him to do that.
They sent him out there with a piece of equipment.
It's a fair presumption
Why
that...
don't we know that after 2 years?
Well, we've not been able to talk to Mr. Russell, and we've been negotiating exclusively with the insurer for IESI. There's no reason to believe
And
that...
they have never raised in any time, in any of these discussions, the fact that Mr. Russell doesn't work for us. And
Absolutely not.
so, to the best of our knowledge, Mr. Russell was an employee for IESI.
Yes.
But just on the happenstance that at some point they're going to say, King's X, then we're also giving you the ability to go after him.
Surely a fail-safe.
Yeah, it's suspenders and belts.
Belts and suspenders. I would like to know for sure who he is.
Who in our, is facilities the one that selects or purchasing? Who selects a vendor? And do we are there other choices? Or is this a territorial situation where, because I know that in certain cities, you can only use the trash company that is selected and has a franchise for like the city of Hurst. And the city of Colleyville or the city of Southlake may have a totally different one. And the city of Fort Worth may have a totally different one. So So are all of our facilities handled by ISI? We don't know.
I don't know.
We can get that information for you.
Okay. Please vote. 4-1, go.
Go forth. That's all we have at this time, Your Honor.
Any other business at this time? There being none, then we're adjourned.